Swing low, sweet chariot, here coming for the Georgia. And what did I see?
Before America became a superpower, before Wall Street, before Silicon Valley, before the skyscrapers touched the clouds, there were fields. And in those fields were millions of enslaved African men, women, and children, building the economic foundation of a nation that did not yet call them human. This is the story of how African Americans helped create the wealth of the United States, long before they were allowed to share in it. When the first enslaved Africans arrived in Virginia in 1619, America was not yet a global force. It was a fragile collection of colonies struggling to survive. But survival soon turned into ambition. Tobacco became the first cash crop, then rice, then sugar. But it was cotton that would change everything. By the early 1800s, cotton was king, and enslaved black labor was the engine. By 1860, cotton made up nearly 60% of all American exports. The United States supplied most of the world's cotton, feeding textile factories in Britain and New England. The global industrial revolution, spinning machines, textile mills, factory growth, depended on cotton picked by enslaved hands. This wasn't small money. It was massive. The cotton economy made the United States one of the wealthiest nations in the world, and enslaved people were at the center of it. But the story doesn't stop in the fields. In the North, banks financed plantations. Insurance companies insured enslaved bodies as property. Shipping companies transported cotton across the Atlantic. Ports in New York and Boston thrived on Southern exports. Wall Street itself grew in part from trade connected to slavery. The profits from enslaved labor didn't stay on plantations. They flowed into financial institutions, railroads, factories, and government revenues. Enslaved Africans were not just laborers. They were the capital. In fact, by 1860, the total monetary value of enslaved people exceeded the value of all the nation's railroads and factories combined. Let that sink in. Human beings were the largest financial asset in America. But here's what history books often skip. Enslaved Africans were not just forced laborers. Many were highly skilled. They were blacksmiths, carpenters, masons, engineers, shipbuilders, and agricultural experts. They built roads. They constructed government buildings. They helped build the White House and the U.S. Capitol. They designed irrigation systems for rice fields in the Carolinas using knowledge brought from West Africa. They introduced advanced farming techniques that increased crop production. Their knowledge was innovation. Their labor was infrastructure. Their suffering became profit. And yet, they were denied wages, denied ownership, denied education, denied freedom. Imagine generating wealth for centuries and receiving nothing but chains in return. No savings, no inheritance, no property rights. When slavery ended in 1865, 4 million formerly enslaved people were free, but penniless. Meanwhile, the wealth extracted from their labor had already built banks, industries, universities, and political power structures that would last generations. The foundation had been poured, and it was poured with blood, sweat, and unpaid labor. This is not just a story of oppression. It is also a story of economic force. Without enslaved African labor, would the U.S. have risen so quickly as a global exporter? Would northern banks have expanded as fast? Would industrial growth have accelerated the same way? Historians widely agree. The answer is no. The American economy was deeply intertwined with slavery. It wasn't a side system. It was a central engine. Black labor financed early American expansion. It strengthened trade networks. It stabilized currency through export dominance. It made America competitive on the global stage. But here's the deeper truth. African Americans were America's first large-scale workforce. They were the builders of agricultural empires, the architects of early infrastructure, the invisible shareholders of the nation's rise. Yet when the profits were distributed, they were excluded. And that economic exclusion would echo for generations. The racial wealth gap we talk about today didn't appear overnight. It began here, in fields where freedom was absent, but productivity was relentless. America's early wealth was not accidental. It was engineered, it was cultivated, it was harvested, And beneath it all was black labor. Next time someone asked how America became powerful, remember this. Before the skyscrapers, before the stock exchanges, before the billion-dollar corporations, there were hands in the cotton fields. And those hands helped build a nation.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.